hi there. People tell you that EDH is an expensive game. I'm here to tell you that those people are fucking idiots, and they're wrong. You can make an EDH deck with pittance. It's a small amount of money if you don't have a dictionary to hand. But we're making a deck for £50 only. That's right! For just £50. And with that £50, my friends, you can create a fun EDH deck that is both competitive and, as I just said, fun! So let's go ahead and show you what we've done with our £50 decks.
Hi everybody, welcome to zlatanobojmtg, and today we're doing EDH.
We are indeed. We've made the two decks, as you saw in the strange introduction. One of which is my own, which is a black-white enchantment-based deck.
Mine is a green-red creature-based deck.
It's just Gruul. It's just horrible big Gruul.
You can talk about horrible decks. Let's go firing straight on into them. So why don't you go first, dude? My
commander for this deck is Vishkar the Blood Arbiter. We should say before we start, actually, as we said, these budget decks are £50 or less. Mine was bang on £50. I did completely by accident. I was just looking around at what cards I had, and this worked. And it was actually £50, and we converted it from dollars.
Yeah.
To thing.
And we said £50 before you figured that out.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. But anyway, Vishkar Blood Arbiter is a 4 white and 2 black legendary vampire. He doesn't really work with the deck as such, but he's just got really good utility. He's got flying and lifelink, he's a 5/5, and you can sack creatures and put counters on him equal to that sacrifice creature's power, and then remove all those counters to give something -1/-1 for each +1/+1 counter that's removed. Yeah. So he's really good utility. As I said, this is enchantments. We played a few games with this, and enchantments obviously are just insanely good in this deck. This is what the deck's about. So we've got Mammoth Umbra. Gives a creature +3/+3 in Totem Armor, which is a really cool effect. Totem Armor, if enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove that damage from it and then destroy the aura. So these things are really good.
Yes.
Aura of Silence, just nice tech, artifact, and enchantment spells opponents try to play cost 2 more, and you can sacrifice this to destroy an enchantment or artifact. Pioneer Umbra, 1/1 on first strike, and it has the Totem Armor. Banishing Light, we all know what that does, it's great. Pacifism, we all know what that does, it's great. Journey to Nowhere, slightly older from Zendika block, enters the battlefield, exile a creature. It's basically Banishing Light, but this can only deal with creatures.
But it's one less.
But it's one less, and the artwork's amazing. Celestial Mantle, one of the more expensive enchantments in this deck, and has quite an intense white mana cost. It's 3 and 3 white. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3, and whenever the enchanted creature deals combat damage, double its controller's life total. Which can be insanely good in you know, the right time, and when is not the right time to double your life total, let's be honest. Ghostly Prism, one of the most expensive cards in this deck. This is an uncommon from Kamigawa, and this was about $8, I think, around $8 or $9, which is pretty expensive for an uncommon. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller plays 2 for each creature. You didn't see this, but you saw a card that's like that, and that's actually a card we're coming on to now. From Ravnica, Return to Ravnica, 4 and 1 white for Sphere of Safety. Creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays X for each of those creatures, where X is the number of enchantments you control. So when we were deck testing these, I had 7 enchantments on board. Alex only had 6 mana, and you had to pay 7 mana to attack with just 1 creature. So that thing's pretty ridiculous. One of the other really expensive cards in this, again, we must stress, like, these decks are £50, like, if you get the cheapest version of the card you can. Yeah. Some of these are in foil, for example, this is foil, and it's about $20, the actual card itself's about 10. Yeah. So this is one of the more expensive ones. Sigil of the Empty Throne is a 3 cost and 2 white enchantment. Whenever you play an enchantment spell, you get a 4/4 Flying Angel, so it's good value.
Pretty broke.
Angelic Destiny, really broke. Gives a creature 4/4 Flying and first strike for just 2 and 2 white. It also becomes an angel. But also, when that creature dies, return this to your hand. Arrest, you know what that does. It's been in Ravnica, it's good. Spectre Ward, one of the new cards in this, gives things protection and +2/+2. Protection from all colours. And is it artifacts as well? Oh no, it's just from all colours.
From all colours, but enchantments don't fall off. Auras that are already on the creature don't fall off.
Yeah, so that's good. Prison Term is like a... I don't know, it's weird. Enchanted creature can't attack or block, which is... And the activated abilities can't be played, which is really good. But also whenever a creature comes into play, under an opponent's control, so if you're playing a multiplayer game and someone's playing something threatening, you can move Prison Term onto that creature at will. Anytime someone plays a creature, you can just Prison Term it. Yeah. Really cool. It sorts out haste creatures really well, actually.
You can just keep on top of the threats.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about playing it and then needing it later.
No. Gift of Immortality from Theros. When that enchanted creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control, and then attach this to it again at the beginning of your next end step. Indestructibility, what do you think it does? Makes things indestructible. It's pretty useful. Ethereal Armour, one of the key cards in this. 1 white mana to give enchanted creature +1/+1 and first strike for each enchantment you control. So that's really good. Oblivion Ring, amazing card. So there's our white enchantments. And black enchantments, we've only got a few black enchantments. Black's the less colour for this deck. White's obviously a more enchantment-based thing. But we've got Stab Wound, so...
great card.
It's creature removal if they're small, but also gives them -2/-2 and forces their controller to lose 2 life every turn. Dictate Erebos, if you lose a creature, people are sacking. In fact, each opponent sacrifices a creature.
It's great in EDH.
And that's one thing that synergizes with Vishkal, because you can just sacrifice anything, and then each opponent has to sacrifice something as well. So that's nice. Necromantic Thirst, this is from Conspiracy, this particular printing. When an enchanted creature does combat damage, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It's pretty nifty.
It's good.
Feast on the Fallen, new card. At the beginning of each upkeep, if an opponent lost life last turn, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So it's pretty good. Like this affects stacks as you go. So if people are losing life every turn, this thing or multiple creatures are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. In standard as well, I think this could make it with Painlands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, I think it's great. Mark of the Vampire, 2/2 and lifelink for 4. That's one of the sort of enchantments that I would probably take out if I found something better that kept it under the cost. But I'm right on the cusp. But Mark of the Vampire gives me lifelink, which is really important. Unhallowed Pact is great. Enchant creature. So this can be any creature, including opponent's creatures, that when that creature dies, you then return it to the battlefield under your control. So you can either do it to one of your creatures to save it and give it basically a second chance, or you can take someone else's creature. And our only multicoloured enchantment is 1000 Lashes. Enchanted creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated, which is very important. And then the side sort of thing as at the beginning of each upkeep, enchanted creature's controller loses 1 life. So there's the enchantments.
Pretty heavy enchantment base.
Very heavy enchantment base. Creatures will skim over. We've talked about the important part of this deck. We'll just skim over the creatures. So in black we have 1 creature, Lonely Painseer. We've got Banisher Priest.
Great card.
Archetype of Courage, give everything first strike. Observant Aelcid, so it's a 2/2 vigilance, but you can also bestow it for the same effect. Archon of Justice, and a slightly older card, new viewers or new players might not know this. Really good card, 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer, that when it dies, exile target permanent, so really useful. Michiko Konda, Truth Seeker. This is...
Good card.
Good card, one of the more expensive ones again. Whenever any source would deal damage to you, that player sacrifices a permanent. So whenever an opponent deals you any damage at all, maybe like a burn spell to you or a creature at you, they have to sacrifice a permanent. Really good. Early game especially. 100-handed one. Had to find a place for this guy. The flavour's just too good. Boonweaver Giant, another new one. I recently bashed this actually, saying it was rubbish. But actually in this deck it's okay. It's really expensive, 7 mana for a 4/4, but you can get an aura from anywhere, from your hand, graveyard, library.
Works really well in this deck.
It's really good. Celestial Archon, 4/4 flying first strike, and you can bestow it, so that's nice. Aura Touch Mage is the same as Boonweaver Giant. This is the one I was talking about. We're talking about Boonweaver Giant, but you have to search your library. Helios Pilgrim gets you an aura. Ajani's Chosen, when you play an aura card, you can actually attach it to a 2/2 cat for free. So there you go. Hopefully Dillion, we know that. Sunblast Angel destroys all tap creatures, really good if you've just been heavily smashed by a Gruul deck. Meta Enchantress, again, I thought this was actually going to be really expensive, but it's not. It's actually fairly cheap. It's whenever you play an enchantment spell, draw a card.
Very good.
Very cool. Oromancer gets your enchantments back.
Very good.
Fiend Hunter, we know what that guy does, he's great. Core Spirit Dancer, one of the more expensive cards again in this deck, and it is absolutely essential if you want to smash face. A 0/2 that gets 2/2 for each aura that's attached to it, and when you play an aura spell you draw a card. So it's Meta Enchantress for 1 less, and you get +2/+2.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like a better version of Meta Enchantress. Sun Titan, which is just amazing. 6/6 when enters or attacks, return target permanents. You control one of them, with convert mana cost 3 or less to the battlefield. Sin Collector, didn't see this in our games.
No.
Enters the battlefield, reveal target opponent's hands. It's actually quite nice if you want to see someone's hand. And you can exile an instant or sorcery. So if you know someone that plays instant or sorcery decks, for example, blue-white control might actually be able to stop you from doing a lot of these things. It's good to get a counter spell or 2 out of someone's hand. Ashen Rider is a 5/5 flyer for a massive 8 mana. But exiles a permanent when it dies and enters the battlefield. So that's really good. High Priest of Penance, 2 cost, 1/1. If it's dealt damage, destroy target non-permanent. Stick Indestructible on this.
Yeah.
You are laughing. Magister of Worth from Conspiracy. Will of the Council is a really confusing ability.
Yeah,
basically
I like it,
you choose Grace or Condemnation, and each player does. And if Grace gets the most votes, each creature card from the battlefield, from the graveyard goes into the battlefield. And if Condemnation gets more votes, everything dies. And if
except for Magister of Worth.
Yes, except for Magister of Worth is very important. And if the vote is tied, then you do the Condemnation and destroy all creatures. And finally, we have a 1 artifact creature, which is Burnished Heart. So that gets you land. So we've talked about enchantments, which is the mainstay of this deck, talked about creatures, moving on to some of the sort of lesser count of things, which is spells. We have, in total, only 4 instants in this deck.
Wow.
One of which is a really interesting one.
Yeah.
A 1 mana counter spell in white, Rebuff the Wicked. Counter target spell that targets a permanent you control. So you can't counter a spell if it's like a board wipe or anything, but if someone tries to target, remove one of your really important enchantments, it's a really good card for that. Then we have Condemn, which is another 1 mana instant spell. Put target attacking creature on the bottom of its owner's library, and its controller gains life equal to its toughness. So
it's a double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword, but it does get rid of commanders.
Yeah.
And puts them to the bottom
Completely
of the library.
it
really does nail commanders in their coffins.
Because if you're not sure, one of the only ways to get rid of a commander in a game of EDH, and we'll talk about this a bit later,
yes, we will.
It's pretty much shuffle it into the owner's library. Because in most other instances, you will have the choice to put it in the command zone.
Yes, if it gets exiled or dies, you can put your commander in the command zone. Hand or library, you can't. But in the hand, obviously, they can just recast it. So putting it in the library is a really good trick.
Yes.
For black-white, we have Orzhov Charm. We can choose one, either return target creature you control and all ores attached to it to your hand. So that's really cool. Or destroy a creature and lose life equal to its toughness. Or return target creature card with converted mana cost 1 or less from your graveyard to battlefield, which is, I don't think, anything. I don't think I have any 1-cost creatures, but the other 2 abilities are really useful. And then we have Premium Removal, which is Mortify, which destroys target creature or enchantment for just 3 mana. So that's really nice. Sorceries we've got a few more of, and obviously you didn't see any black instants there, but we have more black sorceries. Black's a very sorcery speed colour anyway, and one of the best black sorceries of all time is Black Sun Zenith. Now this card is really key to pretty much any EDH deck running black, trust me, I've made many. And
how much does that cost, do you know?
I don't think it's too expensive.
No.
It's not. It's probably one of the more expensive blue Zenith Sun Zenith things. Yeah. Colour Sun Zenith, because there's one for each colour. The blue one draws you cards, which is fairly this is a very inexpensive one. The green one as well is fairly expensive, and the black one, the red one and the white one aren't as good. The white one gives you cats equal to X, because you want cats, and red just deals damage, X damage. But you shuffle it back in, it's like a recurrent burn spell.
So the black one's known to
That's what the cool ones about the Sun Zenith is when you cast them, you shuffle them back into your library, you never touch the graveyard unless they're discarded or something like that. So you can put X 1/1 counters on each creature. Gets around Indestructible, gets around Hexproof. It's really good. In Garrick's Wake, one of the new cards, it's really heavy mana, like 9 mana, but I mean that's what you might want to cost Black Suns for most of the time to really wipe the board. So this one destroys all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. So this one doesn't touch planeswalkers, the Black Sun Zenith, and obviously gets around Hexproof and Indestructible. This doesn't, but destroys planeswalkers as well. So it's sort of which one works. A lot of the time I feel the only bad sort of downside to any cards like this is that probably when you need to deal with planeswalkers you'll draw the Black Suns, and probably when you don't need to you'll draw in Garrick's Wake. Other big destroy spell, this one is amazing. This is Hex, 6 mana, 4 and 2 black, and destroys 6 creatures. So if you just want to split that up, do the math. 6 creatures, that's 1 mana per creature. It's really, really good.
You struggle to find that kind of value.
That is pure value. Beacon of Unrest, which is incredible. Put target artifact or creature card from any graveyard into play under your control, and then you shuffle this into your library. So if you want to take someone's crazy artifact that they've removed, for example, a Chroma's Memorial, get that back for 5 mana onto your field, or if you've just destroyed everything on the battlefield and you're like, which creature was the best? I'll take that one. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Onto our white sorceries, Revoke Existence. Exile target artifact or enchantment, just simple, effective. Planar Cleansing, again, really expensive board white, but it's non-land permanents.
Yeah.
So it just destroys everything, but it's yours as well. So that's why it's cheaper than in Garrick's Wake, because it has a downside of killing your stuff. And then one of my favourite artwork of all time in Merciless Eviction. I pulled 3 of these at the Gatecrash pre-release.
Wow.
And played them in my Orzhov deck.
Well done. Because
literally any time that anyone played anything, I was like, nope. So this exiles all artefacts, or all creatures, or all enchantments, or all planeswalkers. And you choose one. It's really cool. So that's the sorceries. Moving on to artefacts, which we have barely any of. We have 3. One of which is the Orzhov Signet, which is in our colours. So you can pay 1 and tap to add white and black to mana pool. So it's nice. Elixir of Immortality, pretty much key to having most decks. Some people don't run them. I tend to run one in most decks, just because it gives you that option of tapping, gaining the 5 life, which is nothing. But then you shuffle this and your graveyard into your library. Yeah. So it's nice if you're about to get milled out by some sort of rogue mill deck that someone's made, or if you just need the creatures back in your graveyard or things. And then of course you have Sol Ring, which is always pricey, but you have to really have one.
Yeah, you can get it for roughly around $5, I think.
About $5. So it's 1 mana and then tap to add 2 to your mana pool. So on turn 1, you have 1 land out, you can go Sol Ring, tap, Signet. Next turn you're set up for some real shenanigans.
Sol Ring is pretty much an auto including most EDH decks.
And then finally we have land. So for basics, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 swamps, which is obviously black being the least prevalent colour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 planes. So 16 planes, 9 swamp. Overall, I think we have 36 land, which is slightly lower than optimal, but you have to make room for these enchantments. For non-basics, we have Encroaching Waste, which you can destroy non-basic lands with, so that's really useful. Evolving Wilds, if you need black, go and fetch it. If you need white, go and fetch it. Rogue's Passage makes things unblockable. Really useful if you want to gain a bit of life with some lifelink. Temple of the False God, another auto-include for your land slot. Add 2 to your mana pool, but only can activate it if you have 5 or more lands. So if you play it and you've got 4 lands, then you play this, this counts as your 5th land, so then you can suddenly accelerate on a couple of turns with your land production. So it's really nice. Mirrodin's Core, this one's from Conspiracy, but I'm guessing it's from Mirrodin originally. You tap to add 1 mana, colourless mana to your pool, but then you can also tap it to put charge counters on it, and the charge counters can then be removed to add any mana colours. It's slow, but if you need fixing, it's there. Quicksand, just utility. Tap to add 1 mana of colourless colour to your pool, and then you can sacrifice Quicksand and tap it to give target creature, which is attacking, without flying, -1/-2. So you can take out something. Emir of the Sky Rune barely ever kicks off in this deck. It's more for mono white. Enters tapped. You can tap it for white, but at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 7 or more planes, you can return target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. So it's really good if you actually get up to the point where you can use it. I think I'm going to talk about this last, actually, because it's a really, really good card. Orzhov Guildgate, simple. You know what it does. We've got the Orzhov Basilica, which enters tapped, and you have to bounce a land you control back to your hand to play this, but it taps for white and black, and in one thing. So not just white or black, it's white and black. Command Tower, another auto-include, can get a bit pricey, but they have just reprinted another commander set, so it's actually gone down a bit in price. It was like $7 before. Really? Yeah, it's probably like 3 now-ish. But you can tap to add 1 colour of any mana to your mana pool, which is in your commander's colour identity. So this is the colour identity here. So I add white or black. So that's pretty cool. And our final card is one of my favourites. I always put it in these sort of decks that have black and white in. Vault of the Archangel. A lot of people just leave these sort of lands sitting around. This guy. You can tap to add 1 colourless mana, or you can tap 2 white, black, and tap this. So you're tapping 5 things, but creatures you control gain Death Touch and Lifelink till the end of the turn. Alex attacked me thinking he was safe. No, never. So that's this deck, guys. Bang on £50 if you want a deck that controls and sits and stops things from doing stuff. If you're the control player, this is really a really fun deck. I had some great fun with it. We played 3 games.
Yep.
It was great fun every single game.
We had a lot of fun.
We did have a lot of fun. Alex's deck, which we're going to move on to next, is the completely opposite end of the scale. We've got control, and we've got this guy.